of Ghosts and Gods by Cataclysm. This is an album that has been anticipated for some, but Cataclysm is relatively solid. They are relatively reliable. They're a group that they make minor tweaks to the formula here and there of what they are, and it usually tends to work out fairly well, or at least it's something that works out well enough that the album seems and feels pretty solid. Kind of circular there. Ghosts and Gods. If I remember correctly, wasn't this the album that was supposed to have a video for each and every track? I kind of didn't get on board with that. I've had other things that I've been sadly dedicating my time to in the past 10 days or so, but listening to this album, it definitely reinforces that introductory idea that Cataclysm is a reliable band. This is a disc, this 10-track album, that really, it does some things and kind of goes through the motions and has a solid enough real bass to it, but again, whenever I kind of scan back through the remainder of their discography, this is one that feels like it fits right at home, principally because it has a very similar tonal property to it. These collection of songs are fairly average. I would say that some of them have the capability to be above average. There is the one issue that I noticed that as I got a little bit deeper into this disc, it started to become a little bit of a similar crumb, if you know what that means. It's something where it started to really all blend together a little bit, and it wasn't really captivating or following me the same way that some of their elder albums from the past seem to really be able to do. I remember talking about, I think it was Agathodamon earlier this year, or perhaps it was another group, Graveworm is who it was, and that's kind of a purveying idea that kind of comes to mind whenever it comes to groups like that, where that solidarity has really come throughout the years, and now that those ideas are very firm and very classically kind of imposed into our minds as the identity of the band, it's kind of more risky to go against that philosophy than to just stick with it. Now I know that sounds like a lot of, well, not as praiseworthy as it could be adjective or rhetoric, but this is an album that, quite frankly, it isn't all of that bad. In fact, it's relatively good. Definitely one that I would put right on the post border of above average. It does carry its weight and does so with just excellent melody intermixed with very standard vocalization, but at the same time it's very much carried by its melody. Melodically speaking, this is a band that always is able to maintain itself kind of on the little bit more melodic side of death metal or black metal, whichever we really want to lump this into, whatever the freaking buzzword genre is this week. Go ahead and have your fun with it. But for what it's worth, Kataklysm is a group that's able to intermingle a little bit of melody to give it that extra punch. Now, it's not going to be the same caliber level of melody that you're going to hear from perhaps bands of the Gothenburg variety. In fact, this is one that has a little bit more of a sinister, a little bit more of a down-tuned edge to it, just to give it a little bit more of that traditional death metal vibe. However, the melody is something that does give it a little bit more of an incorporation. It gives it a little more opportunity to kind of go above and beyond its own limitations. As I said, whenever I was moving forward in this and got to Soul Destroyer, I was starting to feel a little bit like it was all starting to blend and gel. And then Carrying Crosses kind of reinvigorated me in this regard, considering this was one that kind of took a little bit more of an indirect approach in order to really deliver a very solid track. And I was very, very curious about The World is a Dying Insect, which is the very final track on this album, unless you have the live track bonus edition. Good for you if you do. This is a track that at nearly 7 minutes really had the opportunity to leave the album on a really solid note. And I always love final tracks that have that difference really to them, and I felt that this track did just about enough of a job in order to really give it an individualistic and kind of a unique feel to it, but it really kind of just, it brought the album home strong, but not as strong as it potentially could have. And that's a very subjective idea. It's not really one that there's a universal right answer to, but for this one, it just felt as though it had a little more potential that just didn't quite happen. Overall, this is an album that, if this is your style of music, if you're a Kataklysm fan, there is an excellent chance that you're going to be very, very satisfied with this disc. You're going to love hearing what you hear. However, for those who are perhaps looking at Kataklysm as a potential band to turn them on to this style of music, either that or as a more modern or mainstream group when it has some actual press, this is probably an album that will just fall within about the middle range, middle of the road, and kind of fall flat of really flooring individuals in the long run. This is an album I'd probably give a 79 out of 100 to. As I said, not a bad release by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like at this stage of their career, Kataklysm has more tricks up their sleeve than perhaps what they are yielding to us, and it's going to really get to a point where they're going to have to start showing those for any future disc of theirs to really be seen as just a bona fide death metal or melodic death or melodic black or insert buzzword bullshit metal classic. But I want to know what you guys think about this. I want to know what you guys think about Of Ghosts and Gods by Kataklysm. So let me know, of course, in the comments below. And I will talk to you guys next time. I am CoverkillerNation, and I am out of here.